Morning. Here we are again, still in Africa, on the boudoir chaise-longue, and we're still talking about high frequency energy. Coming into the head, in the middle of the night, into the pineal, right in the centre here, sometimes uncomfortable. Now, the pineal is a temporary receptor of this high frequency energy because, as we've said earlier, it is too fine and too refined to go into the old mastoid area, bones, and so it's coming temporarily into the pineal. Now, the pineal, we've talked about before, please look at the paper. The pineal has been in a bit of trouble with us, with people who are very consciously doing this work on consciousness, because it has undergone calcification throughout our lives. The older we are, it is said, the worse it can be. Now, and studies have shown that calcification can happen even in a child as young as 2. And I say in the paper that accompanies this, which is called the Cingulate Gyrus, about the Cingulate Gyrus, more in a second. I explain in that a little bit of what's going on with the calcification, but the important thing for here is that the calcification is causing a bit of discomfort at the moment as it comes off, and it comes off in sunlight. Wonderful to be in Africa so many times in the year, because the sun helps the calcification to come off, and we want it to be off because the pineal is working hard at the moment, and that coming off may cause you some distress. You may feel it as a pain or an ache or something in the top of the head. Now, before this very lovely high frequency that's coming in the night, affecting the melatonin, as we've said, sometimes sleep disorders, rapid heartbeat, please read the previous papers, see the videos. Before it gets to the pineal, it has to go through something wonderful called the Cingulate Gyrus. And the Cingulate Gyrus is a reticulum, that means it has 2 walls, and it wraps itself round 2/3, I would say, of that centre part of the brain, the cingulate cortex, and that part of the brain sits like this, right in the middle of your head, between the 2 hemispheres and between the walnut bits, and it houses a lot of big players, and I talk about these players in the paper. It houses the pineal, the pituitary, the hypothalamus, and the hippocampus, and we're going to talk about the hippocampus today. But first, the Cingulate Gyrus. Now, this beautiful Cingulate Gyrus, this beautiful, not quite question mark, is a dome, and it is a receiver, a receptor of this high frequency energy. And this energy comes down here in the night, middle of the night, about 3, have found, and it comes in to this dome, which is, as I have said, a reticulum. That means it's 2 walls, and inside the 2 walls there are cilia. Now, we have a little video on the cilia, please have a look at them. Cilia are small hair-like projections, which I call them beaters and sweepers, because they are super sensitive and they're coming into their own at this time. At one point in scientific medical history, they were not really known about, but we are beginning to know about them now, and I've known for some time that they are beaters and sweepers. They are transmitters and they are receivers, and they are busy beating and sweeping and receiving this high frequency into the head. Now, the cilia conduct this high energy into the big players of the centre of the brain, in the middle of the brain, and they take it first, I feel, into the pineal, and then we'll talk about other parts of the furniture of that area in a moment. But after this high frequency has gone into the pineal with effects, which we've talked about earlier, the this energy goes into the top of the spine and it goes through the medulla, and this is all the old limbic brain, which is being changed. I think it's being actually going to be changed so much that it won't be recognisable. And it is the old fight or flight mechanism, which I feel has been part of our hereditary problem with our warmongering self. That's for another day. However, this very high, potent, fine frequency energy comes into the pineal and it goes down through the cilia, and it comes down, down, down into the medulla and into the reticular formation, which is here, coming down into the back of the neck, and it goes into the spine. Now it goes into the spine, hooray, because then it gets to everywhere in the body. And the great thing, it was a wonderful thing for me to discover, that the spine has a reticulum all the way around it. And I discovered this 4 or 5 years ago, maybe a bit more, with a friend in England called Dr. John Porterfield. And I was sitting talking to him one day, and I asked him about the spine and was there something around the spine, because when I treated people I kept feeling whatever it was around the spine. And he said, yes, there is a reticulum. So at that time we didn't discuss any more, and I went off and I did my homework, and I discovered that there was cilia in the reticulum. Well, what a surprise! Cilia, of course, are these little beaters and sweepers. So the cilia in our nice little Cingulate Gyrus, which houses, it's a sort of a little umbrella, wonderful umbrella over the top of these wonderful players in the centre of our brain, and it is a centre for memory and all sorts of things, more of that in a moment. And most importantly, it's a centre for consciousness in that little centre of our brain. But it's this high frequency energy comes into the Cingulate Gyrus, into the cilia. They sweep it down through the medulla, as I've said, into the spine, and there we are, into the cilia of the spinal cord. Wonderful. There is your root. There is your absolutely perfected root of this high, wonderful, potent energy, which will change our consciousness and bring us true enlightenment, actually, not a fake one.